All right, what's going on, everyone? My name is Brendan, and yesterday the San Francisco Shock displayed quite possibly the most unique dive composition I've ever seen against the LA Gladiators, and it really bamboozled me at first. So I talked to a good friend of mine, Sileza, GM player and Overwatch coach, about this matchup, and he did some really good explanations to me, and so I wanted to kind of relay his information onto my audience. Now, back in the day, or actually up until like last week, you would normally play dive with a Genji and a Zenyatta, right? And the idea here is that Zenyatta can discord targets, and Genji has a really great single target burst where he can dash them and he can like right click them and get a lot of burst damage onto one target. So the way this would be played out is that you'd have your dive kind of jump from target to target and kill them one by one, like boom, then kill this guy, and then jump to another target, kill that guy, jump to another target, kill that guy one by one by one. All right. At stage 2, we saw some teams experimenting with the following comp, where you use Genji and Moira. And the idea here was that you send all 6 players in the dive straight into the enemy team. And since Moira has such good close-range burst heals, it keeps your team up longer than the enemy team. Because if the enemy team is playing dive, they probably only have a shitty Lucio and Zen for heals, and that's a way less burst than Moira. Okay? This didn't really work, and the reason was because Genji, as we mentioned earlier, is better at one target burst damage, but instead, in this brawling style, Genji is not going to have like the AoE damage necessary to kill the enemy team. In addition to that, he's a very easy target to get killed because his health pool is low and his evasiveness is low. And oftentimes, Genji would actually have to swift strike to dash into the fight, which would make him even less evasive. Okay, so with the changes to Sombra, Sombra is now a viable DPS hero. And Sombra actually has all the things that Genji was lacking. For example, in a brawl, what you can do is you can send your 5 heroes, basically everyone except Sombra, into the fight, and you can have Sombra sit on the outside and just aggravate the fight. And what this does is it forces the enemy team to focus either on you or focus very briefly on the Sombra to stop those hacks from coming in, right? And if they do this, they direct their attention this way, then these guys are going to kill them. If they direct their attention this way, then Sombra's going to hack your Diva, or Sombra's going to get a ton of damage from the side, right? And so suddenly Sombra is very, very viable because she has a lot of value in the brawl. In addition, Genji only had 1 movement ability to get into the fight. Well, Sombra has 2 movement abilities. She can stealth into the fight, and then translocate back out of the fight if she gets in too dangerous of a position. So Sombra has everything that Genji was lacking, and suddenly with a viable composition. There are a bunch of other indirect results of running this composition that actually make this comp fucking genius. I'm not going to reveal those right away, though. I'll show you examples and explain during those examples exactly what is so amazing. So we look here, we see that the San Francisco Shock initially dived the high ground. This allows Dante and Sinatra to annoy the Zen on the background, the back line on the to annoy the Zen on the low ground in their back line, right? And while Dante and Sinatra are annoying the Zen back here, the tanks of the LA Gladiators have to go over here to help their teammates, and then in that meantime, Sinatra and Dante run away. However, while this fight was happening over here, the San Francisco Shock have actually taken a point. And look at this really, really interesting positioning they're doing here. They're all lined up against this wall because Sleepy on Moira can heal through all of them, right? Has that nice AoE healing. In addition, the Gladiators have to kind of peek this corner because, and here is the first genius thing about the SF Shock's comp, besides just having a Sombra. There's no dive target. Like, who do you dive? Do you dive Tracer? Fuck no, Tracer's so evasive. Do you dive Winston? Absolutely not. Winston is the worst dive target to choose, just because like he has such a huge health pool and everyone peels for him. Do you dive the Diva? No way, because if you dive the Diva, then you're basically diving their Winston because they're always together. Do you dive Sombra? Fuck no, dude. Sombra's so evasive. Do you dive Lucio? I guess? But Lucio has a nice boop. Lucio is very evasive, and Lucio is sticking with the tanks, so you're basically indirectly diving the tanks. And the Moira has the exact same reasoning behind Lucio. There's no dive target. There's no one to choose to kill. And we see the gladiators struggle with that right now. Look, all they're doing is poking. They want to commit to the fight, but they can't because there's no direct target call. Like, they don't know who to dive. No one is saying, okay, dive Lucio, dive Lucio. No one's saying anything. And as a result, all the gladiators do is like touch point every now and then to keep the fight alive. But they never actually commit to the fight. This gives the San Francisco Shock a ton of space to work with and they take advantage of that space very well. All right, now here, coming up in this next fight, is the second genius adaptation, like genius pivot that the Shock did with this composition to make it this next level shit. Okay? Like I mentioned earlier, if you have the frontal dive with the Moira and Lucio, that is huge pressure onto the enemy team. If you have a Sombra on the outside, suddenly that's 2 angles of attack. However, what if you just send your Winston, Diva, Lucio, Moira in from the front, you send your Sombra in from the side, and you send your Tracer to just roam the back? This is where the comp gets fucking genius. Because if the enemy team wants to focus the front line, because they kind of have to, because Winston is very dangerous. If they want to focus the front line, then they have to take their eyes off of Sombra. Maybe they put like Bishu on Sombra duty. Okay, then you have to deal with the Tracer with someone else. And basically, if you split your focus between all 3 people at the same time, then you're not going to kill anyone because Moira's huge healing basically makes it so that the LA Gladiators don't all focus the same exact person. Moira's going to keep them alive, so they won't be able to kill anyone. So the San Francisco Shock can play this very spread out, flanky, aggravate from all sides style because of that Moira and Sombra. And what this is going to do is basically the Gladiators decide, okay, we're going to try to focus on Sombra and we're going to try to focus on the front line. And it gives Sinatra just a ton of space to work with. Look at this. No one is looking at Sinatra. They're all focused on the front line and Sombra. No one is looking at Sinatra. And he just proceeds to absolutely clean up the fight. I wish I could give more examples of Sinatra completely fucking owning. In particular, Ilios was pretty nuts. But on this channel, I don't like to do multi-map spoilers. I like to kind of keep it condensed to one fight on one map. So if you guys would like to see Sinatra completely destroy on Ilios, I will leave a link in the description to that VOD on the Overwatch League Twitch channel. And we can see here, like actually right now, look right now, we can see Sinatra at that first fight right here. Look at this shit. The team's gonna come up the fucking hill right here. Shit. Sorry. The team's going to come up the hill right here. Look at Sinatra. Sinatra's just annoying the backline, just aggravating the Zenyatta, because the entire enemy team, and Fissure's down there, the entirety of the Gladiators are looking downhill. So this is just one example of Sinatra having a ton of space due to the multi-level distractions of the Sombra, in addition to the rest of the team from the frontal side. So that is what the San Francisco Shock were thinking with this comp. Now you're probably wondering, okay, then how the fuck does anyone counter this? How do you counter a comp with no dive target? Well, the answer is to play counter dive. The way you want to do it is you play Mercy Zen, you play Soldier, you play a Winston Diva, and you play Tracer. And you let the enemy team engage onto you, you melt them down, you dive their tanks you dive the low health tanks so they get away. The problem is that the Gladiators do not play counter dive ever, because Fissure is way too aggressive. And so that's why the Gladiators end up losing this map. So anyways, I hope to see you guys in the next video. I hope you found this a little bit interesting about this composition. Again, big thanks to my friend Sileza. Without him, I really would not have been able to understand what the fuck was going on here. And I'll see you guys in the next video.